An easy play.
Fresh dress, living large, German whips in my garage. Most my partners called the charge for all this love break out the bars. Fresh dress, living large, German whips in
Here's
my
Messi.
garage.
Away from 2, 3, 4. Wonderful.
Rockin'. These chicks be flocking.
Hi, guys. Welcome in to our YourFiltersChoice.com YFC Sunday NFL stream. My name is Adam, also known at YFC Sports V12. I'm joined by a couple of coaches, admin, ownership, the guys that keep this ship rolling down the sea, man. At Mike Biz 23 at YFC Sports _ Devin. Gentlemen, I hope you got that extra hour of sleep. I know you didn't actually, but I'm asking the rhetorical question just to get you to bring up how tired you guys are. Parents, man, I'm telling you, being a dad is rough, right?
Yeah, I mean those kids don't understand time changes, so
They do not.
there was no extra hour of sleep.
They do not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty crazy around here.
So, guys, I wanted to obviously welcome you in. We're a little bit earlier than normal, not necessarily due to daylight savings time, but we want to be able to offer you content out there to get you plenty of time to make your lineups and listen to everything. Obviously, we're going to be posting this up on one of our socials on YouTube right after the stream. So be sure to check us out at YourFiltersChoice.com. You'll see our YouTube link on there. Click that, give it a like and subscribe. Make sure to hit that bell for us. Like I said, it keeps us growing. It keeps you guys interactive with us. And as always, go on that YouTube channel. There's lots of stuff on there. I know Devin has quite a few videos with our prize picks, our college football prize picks that we had, and soccer. I think we had a perfect day yesterday. So we'll talk more about that affiliate at the end. But before I kind of move into anything, guys, Devin, why don't you tell us a little bit about, you have a promo going on right now for our website, correct?
Yeah, so we are running a bit of a promo in honor of college basketball, which is coming. We have arguably the best college basketball player in the entire industry on our team in Walt, and so we want to celebrate that a little bit and get some bodies in here and make some money this winter. So we're offering actually 40% off. So your first 2 months. So that'll be just $30 a month each of your first 2 months, and then it goes back up to the regular $50 after that. So, but take advantage of that. If you are not subscribed, now is the time to do that, because that ends on December 9th.
That's right, guys. Like I said, I mean, we had a promo going before, and we've actually upped the ante a little bit, betting on our team here, betting on you guys out there listening, and of course, checking us out on the YouTube link as well. But, we really want to have a team, something that we've built organically from the ground up. Like I said, we have the weaponry, we have the people, we have the coaches to be able to compete in this industry and be the top dog. So that's what we're going for, guys. And you're on board with us, and we do appreciate you joining us here on Twitch today. And of course, shout out to our producer, Mickey. With that being said, gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and jump into our normal formatting. We're going to be covering cash and top plays from Devin, and then we're going to be jumping into some GPP tournaments with Mike Miz 23. And then, of course, at the end, we're going to talk a little bit about one of our affiliates today. We will have articles that are going to pop up in our content. There may be some wagering stuff and just things for you to check out. So our Discord is free. If you're not currently linked with your account, you can check that out at yourfilterschoice.com. Of course, reach out to at YFC Sports _ Devin. And I'm going to let Devin jump right in. We're going to start with cash. And then, of course, Mike, you're going to be joining us for GPP. So, Devin, take it away, brother.
All right, so another fairly straightforward week in terms of our player pool. We're going to be able to give you a couple plays at each position. So starting with quarterback, you have a really cheap option, and then ironically in the same exact game is the pay up option. So the cheap option is Jimmy G. For the 49ers, he's up against a Seattle defense that we've been targeting weekly. We were really high on Kyler Murray last week. He dropped like 41 points. Jimmy's not going to do that. He doesn't have the rushing upside, but at just 5.4K on DraftKings, 6.6 on FanDuel, you don't need him to drop 40 to still crush value. Seattle's giving up 368.7 passing yards a game, and that's equating to 30.6 DraftKings fantasy points per game for opposing quarterbacks. That's the highest on the slate by a good chunk. they've gotten smashed by quarterbacks all season long. And Jimmy's played better. He had that disaster game a few weeks ago, and since then he's actually dropped 268, I believe, 2 weeks ago, and then 277 the next week. Now he's in a matchup where he should be able to probably should get that 300-yard bonus. You add in the fact that their running game is really beat up. They get Tevin back, but I can't imagine he's going to be full go.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a lot of a rushing game that's just not there without Mostert. So it's going to fall on Jimmy a little bit more. And these Seattle games have been shootouts every single game. So, and then sticking with that same game on the other side, Russell Wilson. I mean,
Right.
we don't really need to say anything about him. Look at his log. He's been incredible. They're letting him cook this year, and he's been awesome. He's going to do it every week. He's going to be in play every week. Don't really need to say much about that. He's kind of in the same situation as Jimmy, where his rushing game is pretty beat up. Carlos Hyde's been ruled out. I don't think the Carson news is official yet, but you're looking at a banged up rushing game. So those are my
absolutely.
two main quarterbacks.
Yeah, I 100% agree on, obviously, Jimmy G, the value he provides. I'm sure ownership, he will definitely be up there. If you decide to be different elsewhere, obviously, like you said, Russell Wilson. I personally, I like Patrick Mahomes a lot, even in, kind of a blowout script. We saw, I guess, even with like college football yesterday, you can have an expensive quarterback and they could still be amazing. You got to, I guess, talent is talent. And, I think with Jimmy G, the expectation is he should get there. It shouldn't be an issue. I will say he was really efficient against New England, through 80%, 277 yards, but those couple of picks and everything, he only wound up with 9.48 points. I think the ownership's going to be there, which makes him probably the right play here in cash. But at the same time, like I said, you mentioned it and you prefaced it with he's not the I guess the premier talent some of these guys are, but the pricing, the spot, and everything just makes sense here for Jimmy G. So, and 100% agree with you, Russ. He needs to continue to cook. He is matchup proof.
Yeah, exactly. With Mahomes, I'm shying away from Mahomes simply due to price and the fact
Right.
that this game is probably over by halftime. It is Patrick Mahomes. If you play Patrick Mahomes any week, nobody's going to blame you.
Yeah.
But that is my fear with him here.
Sure.
There are some other options that I did like, but weather's a real factor today. We're going to get into that with a couple of these plays.
Okay.
I really like Joe Burrow, but the wind is super bad. The deep passes are going to be tough. I still think he's going to have a good day because he's going to throw a lot of shallow stuff. He's got extremely talented receivers. Still no Joe Mixon, so I do still like Burrow. I was pretty high on Derek Carr, but that's actually probably the worst weather of the week is in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So that's a little concerning. And then Tannehill's there as well, but again, you have that weather. So I think we're going to see Jimmy G and Russ be the main two cash plays.
Okay. Fair enough. Is there anything else on quarterback for cash top plays, or do you want to move on to running back?
No, fairly straightforward today.
I agree. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and move into the running back position. A lot of plays, a lot of value, only 2 pay-ups today. So it does look kind of weird when you're looking at the pricing, at least on DraftKings. You see 2 expensive running backs. And I think the one thing I wanted to kind of like mention before I looked at this, I was like, man, you can remember, it's like we would see those 10K Christian McCaffreys, the 9.6 Camaras and everything. And it seems like pricing, I don't know if it's soft or it's more spread out or whatever, but we're seeing the top running backs come in 8.2 and 8K for Kamara and Henry. What do you have in regards to top plays in cash here?
Yeah, it is. DraftKings been pretty soft on running back all year, really. FanDuel's been a little bit more aggressive. Derrick Henry, for instance, is 9.5K today. But as you mentioned, there's 2 pay-up options today. Both are in good spots. Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry. I mean, you still got no Michael Thomas or Sanders. Kamara is literally wide receiver 1 for this team. Oh, plus he gets rushes. So his floor is super high.
Yeah.
He's had a great year. Derrick Henry is, again, another guy you don't really need to talk about why he's in play. He's a monster. He has historically done even better as it starts to get cold. This is a premier matchup for him. So you're going to want one of those two in cash. On DraftKings, Henry's actually cheaper. So I think a lot of people are going to gravitate to saving that $200 and go Henry. And then it's actually flipped on FanDuel. Kamara is actually $500 cheaper. So I think a lot more people on FanDuel end up on Kamara. Both are great plays. I think that the chalk of the slate is Kareem Hunt, especially when you add in that weather. They're going to lean on that run game. He's going to get, 20 to 25 touches between rushing and targets. He's got 7 touchdowns on the year, and a lot of that was in a backup role. He's now the featured back, and they didn't even really use anybody at all last week. It was all Kareem Hunt all game long. And plus the matchup is there. He gets a matchup against the Raiders team that's giving up 32.9 DraftKings points to opposing running back positions. It's important to clarify positions because that does include backups. But in this scenario, that's essentially Kareem Hunt. Like I said, you're not going to see many other touches for other running backs for the Browns. So it's a smash spot. Right now, he's projected to be the highest owned, and for good reason. He's kind of that guy who my first click in my lineup is going to be Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, I definitely agree 100% on there. I was gonna mention that because you did, I know you've always kind of talked up, some of the Cleveland plays, having a little bit more insight there, but just kind of on top of that, we have to remember that the kind of talent Kareem Hunt is. Say what you want about him as a person, but as a football talent, you could very well say that the guy's more talented than Nick Chubb here, and you're getting him in a bell cow role. It just seems like he's way too cheap here. So I don't see any way that you can get off playing him in cash. That's just my personal take on it.
Yeah, 100%. I think he's your first lock in cash.
I agree.
Especially on DraftKings, 6.9K. Again, like you said, he's in a bell cow role.
Yeah.
You should be 7K or up in a bell cow role. And yeah, I mean, people forget he led the league in rushing his rookie year. I mean, this dude is awesome. And this is a good offensive line. It's a good scheme for him. It really all works. So I expect a big day from Hunt. It's hard to imagine him not being the chalk and not returning value here.
And the weather's going to dictate that too, right? I mean, they're not going to be able to throw. I mean, they got to do something. We know Baker is. I mean, I think he's kind of washed, but I mean, they got to run the ball. So.
And no Odell, so they're gonna lean heavily here. So outside of that, you've got Hunt, and then I think you're probably gonna see Hunt paired with one of the two expensive backs. You can technically get all three, but then you're forced to kind of punt at other positions. And then I think Jamal Williams is going to be really popular again. We saw what he could do last week. He was great. This is not as good of a matchup, but again, this is where weather comes back into play. It's another game with really bad weather. They're going to, Jamal Williams is going to see a bell cow roll. He got a ton of touches last week. He's 6.1K on DraftKings, 7K on FanDuel.
Yeah.
Another play that's just, he's really hard for me to ignore here. We saw what he could do last week. Minnesota traded away their best player on defense, as Miz mentioned in his article. Minnesota appears to be ready to potentially rebuild. And I think Green Bay is going to have to lean on that running game. You get Jamal Williams for fairly affordable price. So he's kind of I'm looking probably at Hunt, Jamal, and one of the two big backs. And then behind there, we do have a few other options that I think are cash viable. You've got Josh Jacobs. Again, same idea. You got the weather. Cleveland's defense is okay. I'm a little iffy there. His log has not been as steady. I would rather take, Jamal Williams in the same exact price range. Jamal Williams is actually a little bit cheaper, but Josh Jacobs is there. Just not my preferred play. Jonathan Taylor's in a pretty smash spot, but again, he's more expensive. The Colts play calling, apparently they don't realize how good he is. They never really give him as much run as you should get. But again, he's there. If you're just, for some reason, you're like, I don't like Jamal Williams, that's an option, a little pivot. And then last we have Giovanni Bernard. Same thing as last week, no Joe Mixon. He's going to make his calling with his pass upside. He caught a late touchdown last week, really kind of he was already at value, but that really pushed him over the top last week. That touchdown, he's even cheaper than the rest. So that's another very valuable option. I especially like his FanDuel price at 5.9K. I expect him to be more popular on FanDuel than DraftKings.
Okay.
Because like I said, that's very cheap. So really my preferred plays here are Hunt with one of the two big boys, Jamal Williams and Gio Bernard.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, no issues, anything there. I think that if you're just scrolling through, I mean, I think value will pop up depending on what Seattle does, but at the same time, I don't know if there's anybody going to be viable there. Like you said, they're probably just going to pass a lot, let Russ kind of scramble around just to keep everything moving along. And San Francisco has a pretty decent, pass rush as well. Excuse me, run stopping core. But I wanted to ask you before we move on, thoughts on Myles Gaskin in a tough spot against the Rams today.
Yeah, so he's there. The usage has been there for him. But again, the issue is you've got a rookie quarterback. The Rams defense is really good. They're only giving up 312.9 yards a game, 17.7 points a game. So they're not giving up much at all to anybody. Now you get Tua coming in, which, listen, Tua is going to be good.
Yeah, he is.
This is it's a brutal debut. I don't know what the play calling is going to look like. It's just, that's a risk that I don't think you really need to take.
Right.
I do want to mention, I know I'm not the GPP guy here, Miz, but I'm a big Lev Bell fan today.
Yeah, you are.
This is literally like, this is like the most revenge game you'll ever see, like a true revenge game. Like he hated the Jets play calling. He hated their coach. He finally got him to release him. He went to a team who happens to play them. So I think they're going to be, that game's potentially over at halftime, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it could be Lev Bell second half revenge.
Right.
I am 100% playing him in my main GPP lineup. Some people could probably argue that he's a cash play, but I think that's a bit risky. But yeah, I think he is there as a tournament play.
The one thing I was going to say on there, just based off of my familiarity with Andy Reid, he is a big players coach. And I guarantee you, he knows this is a spot where he could get this guy in. You may see a couple of rushing touchdowns if they get in close. I mean, like this, it's definitely a spot, and it's something to take note of, I believe, especially at that price.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's there. He'll be in my lineups. I don't think I'm gonna have him in cash. I just think that's you're banking on the idea of them. You're banking on a blowout, which is never a safe thing to do because you just never know, and you're banking on the coach. I do think he gets his, but again, there's risk there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, I think that kind of wraps up our running back position in cash, unless you have anything else, and then we can move on to wide receiver.
Oh, that'll do it for running back.
All right. All right. So tell us what you got on wide receiver. Go ahead.
Yeah. So moving on to wide receiver. This is another spot impacted by weather. Really high on Devontae Adams. Until I saw the weather forecast, that's got me a little bit scared to pay that premium of a price tag, considering the weather. We are looking at 25 mile an hour sustained winds, gusts up to 40 miles an hour. It will get better as the game goes on. And I did read that they, by adding some seats to the stadium, it has helped a little bit with the wind, but that's still a factor. There's still a good chance Adams gets his, but it's not a slam dunk with that weather. especially at that price tag. So I was building around him earlier in the week, and now I've actually dropped off of him, and I would rather grab one of those big boy running backs. I think it's a little bit safer with the weather, but he is there. But I'm starting with Keenan Allen. That's the first play I'm looking at. DraftKings especially is just not respecting this dude. 6.2K is crazy. I mean, he's averaging 80 yards a game on 10 targets, and that includes a game in which he got hurt very early in the game, and he still hit 10 DraftKings points that game because he got a touchdown before he got hurt. He's been super consistent. He's got double-digit DraftKings points every game but the very first one, which that very first one was with Tyrod Taylor, who is incapable of throwing the ball more than 6 yards at this point in his career. Now you've got Herbert who's slinging the ball, and Keenan's getting a ton of targets. I really like Keenan, especially at that price. It just feels too cheap for him. You don't have to worry about any weather here, and I expect him to be a pretty popular option here.
Okay. Yeah, I like that call a lot. I think he's going to be. I mean, I've seen him a little bit around the industry where people are kind of talking him up. I just think this price tag is just way too consistent. I think that the algorithm hasn't caught up with him, and I think that's really part of it here. So he's safe. I mean, he's a perfect cash play. Like you said, he's going to get looks. He's going to get targets. Herbert likes him. Is he going to give you the 50-point game? Probably not. But, where he's sitting at, I mean, that's safety and security in your lineup. But that's the kind of game that you pay those Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley prices that you're getting at a discount.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's a legit number one, and he's not priced like it.
Agree.
So then moving on, you've got, of course, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. Always there, always in play. DK finally had his worst game of the season last week. I don't expect that to happen again. Lockett's going to kind of be the popular play after what he did last week. Understandably so. I really like his FanDuel price. He is actually $600 less than DK on FanDuel. It's really odd. They actually completely switched. Last week, DK was the FanDuel price play. He was much cheaper than Tyler Lockett. Somehow DK has a terrible game. His price skyrockets on FanDuel. Lockett goes nuts and his price plummets. I don't really know what they were doing there. It's almost like they got the names backwards or something. Like, it's really weird. So I think Lockett's going to be really popular on FanDuel. He is there on DraftKings. I'm not going to blame anybody. I mean, he's averaging 75 yards on 8 targets a game. He's got 4 touchdowns this year. We saw what he could do last week. Especially if you're rolling Russ, I would look to pair him with Lockett. And Lockett is cheaper on DraftKings than DK as well. So I think Lockett's going to be your popular play between the two of them. And then we've got Tyreek's there, but again, I have some worries. I do think he will get his, but that's a awful pricey with the risk. I think you'd go, a Lockett if you can get there for just a couple hundred more and a bit safer in the game environment. And then from there, it's really kind of all about the value at wide receiver. We have 2 punts that are very valuable: Denzel Mims, Kendrick Bourne. If you like we do expect the Jets game to essentially be out of reach, around halftime, then guess what? That means the Jets are going to be passing.
Right.
Denzel Mims was their second-round draft pick. He debuted last week. He had 4 catches for 42 yards on 7 targets. He's going to be their big play guy. You've got no Crowder. He's going to be the safety blanket. He's probably going to get 7 to 10 targets. He should get, I think he can easily do what he did last week, plus some. Now that he's a little more comfortable, and he is 3.2K on DraftKings, 4.9K on FanDuel. Very viable punt. And then my other punt is Kendrick Bourne, which is a player you could pair with Jimmy G. With the injuries they have, he should be looking at a bigger role. His log's been really up or down, but he's going to be in a little bit safer of a role thanks to the Deebo Samuel injury here.
Right. I was going to mention, obviously Mims. I've watched him a lot playing when he played at Baylor, coming into the league. definitely from like the dynasty community standpoint, very high on the guy. Very talented. He got tons of love last week. Like you said, those target shares are going to be huge, especially. I mean, Crowder's doubtful, like you said, so I don't think he's going to suit up here. But and I'll mention a little bit more when we talk about Sam Darnold in our Prize Pick segment. But it's just like you said, it's a script where he's going to have to play from behind. This guy has all the talent in the world. He could be their number one receiver for a long time. They kind of drafted him for that. So I love Mims here. I think that he's outside of that Kareem Hunt you talked about in cash. I think Mims will be in GPP and cash lineups for me just because he's obviously way too cheap. So that 3.2, he's going to have ownership there. I don't think you can fade him regardless. I think you have to be different elsewhere. So I think I love me some Mims today, man. I just wanted to mention that because he's a Texas guy. Well, going to Baylor and everything like that. He's an excellent play.
Yeah. Right now he's showing as the ownership punt. I do think you can get away with going Bourne for a few hundred more.
Sure, yeah, I can see that.
Bourne's not as talented, but he makes sense in the matchup paired with Jimmy G. It's going to be hard not to have one of those two in your lineups, depending on your build. Well, I shouldn't say that. Technically, you don't need either one of them. We have some other options that we're going to talk about. It just depends on the build you want. But if you want a punt at receiver, it's Mims or it's Bourne. I'm not looking at anybody else. It's one of those two. Yeah. A lot of people were asking about, well, what about New England? They have like 2 healthy receivers. No, stay away. Weather's terrible. That offense is terrible. Like it's Mims or Bourne. Those are your punt plays.
Yeah.
So then if you're not comfortable with those plays, you do have some mid-range kind of value options here. A play I know Miz is going to talk about is AJ Green. Yes, there is weather in Cincy, as I mentioned earlier. That's going to hurt the deep ball, but the bottom line is AJ Green is 4.5K. He doesn't need to do much to hit value. It's AJ Green. He's getting 8.29 targets a game, so the volume is there. He's slowly coming on as he gets healthy, as he gets used to Joe Burrow. He's very cheap. So while I'm not crazy about paying, 8.8K for Devontae Adams with the weather, it's a little bit different of a story at 4.5K for AJ Green. So he is certainly there. And then one other play I really like, especially on FanDuel, is Brandon Ayuk. Again, another play that you can pair with Jimmy. You can play him on DraftKings. Well, I have a cash build actually that utilizes him that I like, that I'm potentially rolling. Same reason, all the reasons we talked about with Seattle. He's a big play, explosive receiver, yards after the catch. So he's there as well. So just to kind of recap the position, I'm starting with Keenan. And then expect Lockett to be really popular, especially on FanDuel. DK's there as well. And then Devontae Adams is your pay up, but there's some risk because of the wind. Your punts are Denzel Mims, Kendrick Bourne, and then your kind of mid-range value is, an AJ Green, a Brandon Ayuk. Technically, like a T Higgins and stuff is there as well, but those are kind of the main plays I'm concentrating on.
Yeah, you mentioned when you talk about Ayuk, one of the things that I think it's always really great, anytime you have a good San Francisco spot, is he basically plays that same type of role that Deebo Samuel plays. So, without Deebo in there, he's going to get all of those jet sweeps. He's going to get all of those routes that give you a lot of yards after the catch. So I see Miz, he's obviously nodding too. Like if you watch the San Francisco guys play, that's pretty much, they have to have that person in their in order to run that Shanahan offense, they have to have that guy, and he's that guy for them. So expect that you can get plenty of rushing upside. I mean, they're not afraid inside the 5-yard line to run those jet sweeps, those little those little pop plays and everything like that. So I think Ayuk has a higher ceiling and that same kind of pivot point where you have the Keenan Allen. So if you have Jimmy G and you absolutely are one of those guys, like I got a pair receiver with my guy, I think he's your man. I mean, Bourne's value, but I mean, I think Ayuk has that upside for sure.
Yeah, I would probably for sure really look at Ayuk on FanDuel. Like I said, I like him on DraftKings as well, but that FanDuel price especially,
Oh yeah,
5.9K is very affordable.
and you're not relying on PPR for him, so it's like, he's the kind of FanDuel play, like he's the ideal play, I think, in that scoring format.
Yep.
All right. So what? Anything else on wide receiver? We're ready to move on to tight end.
That pretty much does it. There's always with wide receiver, there's always a lot of there's a lot of plays. I like to just kind of really concentrate on a small group, so that's what I've done there. But yeah, I think those are the safe plays. I think that's where I would stick, is with the plays I mentioned.
Yeah, agree. Like I said, I'm sure we're going to talk more in the GPP segment, and we have some plays we talk about in Prize Picks as well. So, all right, let's move on. Tight end.
Yeah, tight end. So if you watched last week, Adam and I were really high on Harrison Bryant, and he came through in a big way. I am right back there again today. Austin Hooper's already been rolled out. We've already talked about the weather. No Odell. This is going to be a rush heavy offense, play action, a lot of tight ends.
Yeah.
So Harrison Bryant, 3.2K on DraftKings. Yes, please. That's really hard for me to ignore on DraftKings. And I even like him on FanDuel at 5K. So that's where I'm starting, because you guys know by now I love to pay down at tight end. We saw last week exactly why, because Harrison Bryant, not only did he go nuts, but the pay up option in Travis Kelce was a dud.
Yeah.
It's just tight end is a spot that has so much variance compared to other positions, just because of the nature of the position. So it's really hard to pay up at tight end for me, because that's the spot that is more likely to dud than a high end running back, high end receiver, etc. So Harrison Bryant's my dude again. If you don't like that, Jonnu Smith there, 4.1K on DraftKings is a nice DraftKings pricing play. He is there. Those are my main two values. Hunter Henry is a guy that Miz is going to talk about a little bit about. He's there as well. And then you have your three pay up options. You've got Darren Waller. Again, weather's an issue there, so they're probably going to have to look a little bit shorter. So Darren Waller is your man for Vegas. You've got Travis Kelce. Outside of last week, his log's been incredibly consistent this year. And then you've got George Kittle. George Kittle is going to act as wide receiver one, essentially, for this offense. We've talked at length about Seattle being a team to target. They do not give up much to tight ends at all, but George Kittle is not your average tight end. So he is there as well. But as I mentioned, for me, it starts with Harrison Bryant.
Yeah, Seattle has some great cover guys. I know they got with getting Adams out there in the safety position. Like, they have plenty of people that can shadow Kittle, but he's a generational talent right now. Anytime, Devin, if you're like, hey, if you don't like playing somebody, you can just tell them you got two words for them. They can either play him or not play him, bro. You just tell them you're a man of your convictions. So you can tell the chat, and they can just read between the lines if they need to. But yeah, you're right. I second what you said, obviously, with the Bryant and everything. And you get these tight ends, and you're like, man, I have all this salary left over. And the first thing you're always thinking of, like, well, maybe I can get a Kittle, maybe I can get a Kelce or a Waller. But I agree with you there. It's like, you're probably too locked in, or I guess I've been there. You're too locked in on value somewhere, and you're not looking like, okay, well, maybe I can get off that value into someone more safer. Like, it could be a Mims to a Keenan Allen or something like that. So yeah, just something to think about. That tight end shouldn't be your first spot that you think, oh, I can upgrade this. I would say upgrade your quarterback, or upgrade a running back to a premier running back, something like that.
Yeah, just because of, like I said, the variance at the position. I mean,
yeah,
we saw it last week with Travis Kelce. He was in a great spot. He had been super consistent all year, and he laid an absolute dud.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what else you got for us at the position?
That's pretty much it for tight end. I do want to note that Mo Alley-Cox is back for the Colts, which takes Trey Burton off the board, because they now have three viable tight ends. I think you're taking a massive risk, but if you were to play any of them, because that's 3 talented guys, who knows who's going to get going that week. So just something
Right.
of note. That's really about it for me. If you want to get crazy with some GPP plays, obviously may as well talk this a little bit, but like a Mike Gesicki's there as a nice GPP pivot, but I'm not touching him in cash.
Okay. All right. All fair enough. 100%, like I said, agree with Devin that, in cash, you're probably looking to pay down. But, like you said, don't get stuck on certain things. I think if you get stuck on the notion, and I fight this all the time with making my lineups of like, I have to play this guy. I get these convictions on certain players, and there's nothing wrong with having convictions, but at the same time, like I said, look for your value at the tight end position because of the variance in there. That's a perfect point. I don't think that's brought up enough in regards to cash builds. We see a lot. I would say we see a lot of builds that pop up in our premium chats for lineup review with a lot of higher end tight ends and for cash. I think we see that a lot more, and I don't think that maybe we emphasize enough as a coaching team. Like, hey, you want to find value in that position. Nothing wrong with being on Kelsey or Waller or Kittle and them doing great, but that's like the expectation. Like you have to get a 20-point game out of Kittle to really feel like he was worth the pay up, and that's tough to do, man, especially against a team like Seattle that doesn't give up a lot to the tight end. So just great, I guess, words of wisdom and knowledge there. If you're ready and you want to jump into defense and your favorite position, by all means, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, no picture for defense this week. Last week, we were gifted essentially a free spot with Washington, and even Cleveland was a really solid play for a little bit more, and both delivered. No picture this week because it's not as much of a slam dunk, but right now Saints are projecting to be the highest owned play. Makes a lot of sense. Chicago offense is dreadful. The Saints defense advanced stats is actually better than what they've shown on the field. I believe their DVOA is actually 10th in the league. So they're there. They're super cheap. It makes a lot of sense. I think you'll see them being very popular. You also have, there's some cheaper options. Like I like the Colts defense on DraftKings if you need a couple $100. The flip side of the Saints game, I like the Bears as well. I know Miz is really high on them when considering price. Defense is going to be a spot this week that I'm going to build everything else and see where I land. A lot of my builds have taken me to right around, that Saints price range. On FanDuel, you've got, some pay ups. Buffalo against a really bad Patriots defense is there. Obviously, KC against the Jets. So there are options, but defense is definitely not a spot that I'm like. Last week was a rare week where I was just plugging in Washington and calling it good. This week, you don't have that. So I'm going to build everything else, see where I land.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have a lot to add to defense. I mean, I think you had the graphic up of our, our staff picks and everything and kind of where we fall, obviously. I mentioned on there that I do like the Rams here just because, I mean, the obvious good defense, even with the travel rookie QB. I just think that, like you said, Tua is going to be great. This is probably not the best starting spot for him. It's going to be a tough go of it. Aaron Donald showed obviously his elite talent, being able to add that pressure up the middle. And that's tough to do, man. It's tough not to make mistakes whenever you got so much pressure right in your face. Around the edge, obviously you can move around in the pocket, and Tua has, from what I've seen, has great pocket presence, but he's got a lot to learn in the NFL. So I do like the Rams a lot today. I think they could get a pick 6 today or something along those lines. But yeah, man, nothing else to add on there. Any final thoughts on your cash and your builds or anything like that before we move on to GPP?
Yeah, just, I can't say it enough. I'm going to say this every week because I just feel it's so important. So what I do when I'm building my cash lineups is I create a player pool. We've essentially given you one. You can use that if you want. You can add plays to that, remove some plays if you don't agree. That's fine. What I do is I create a player pool, and then I tinker. I build multiple lineups. As you were mentioning earlier with the tight end, don't get overly locked in on the player too. Like obviously you have your guys like Kareem Hunt, like that. Yes, lock him in,
Right.
move on. But you have some flexibility at other positions. Tinker around, see what you land on. Oftentimes people end up, plugging in too many plays, and then they end up with multiple punts that they're not crazy about, or, it
Right.
ends up being, well, I just played this guy because he fit. Well, if that's the case, then start over, rebuild. Maybe you fall into something you like better. And then last, I want to mention you teased YouTube a bit in the beginning. That is something that we're really pushing moving forward. We've actually had a video the last handful of days. We're looking to do one every single day. So if you're not following us on YouTube, make sure you are. We do nice, easy to watch 1 to 2 minute long videos. The only other more lengthy ones we had a lineup review this week, which was still only a couple minutes long. Hit that subscribe button, hit that alert button so you get the alerts when we post a video, because they're going to be super easy to watch and very informative. And give us a follow and help us out.
That's right, guys. Yeah. We do have a question in the chat. Yeah, Devin, while you go on there, like you said, and he reads that and answers, obviously. Like you said, follow on YouTube, man. Like I said, it's easy. Just go subscribe. It's available on the links. And, of course, you can set that up as an alert. So, Devin, in regards to the question you got there from one of our subscribers, let's see. Why does anyone no one talks about him when he has a great game? All right. How do you feel about Let me just read the question.
Read it.
Yeah. Dev is Aaron.
Yeah, read it out loud. I don't
Dev is
much open.
Aaron Donald getting the LBJ treatment, as in he's best and people expect him to be great. That's why he doesn't win Defensive Player of the Year anymore, and no one talks about him when he has a great game. Do you think he's overshadowed? Do you think he doesn't get the love from the media, from the Devin treatment per se?
Is this Danny?
This is Danny in.
Is this
Yeah.
Dan?
Yeah. I had to read through all the misspellings. So
No, I think Darnold gets the credit he deserves. He just wanted to throw a LeBron comment in there. I like it.
I like it.
No, I think Darnold gets his credit. I mean, the dude he's incredible. He's consistently in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. It's actually, I was just hearing the other day. It's him and Myles Garrett are currently the front runners this year. So, but I like that he wanted to throw a LeBron comment in there. I appreciate that.
Yeah. To me, right now, I think he's just for the position that he plays and how he impacts the game. I think that football is one of those sports that you have to look at it outside of the stats. You have to kind of say if you watch the games enough, and hopefully people take that into consideration. So, hey, man, like I said, that's at YFC Sports _Devin. He will have the cheat sheet updated a couple times, I believe, before we lock on our main slate, Devin. And, of course, they can check that out at yourfilterschoice.com. He mentioned at the beginning of the stream, don't forget, we have an amazing discount in for you to get 40% off your first couple of months there. So be sure to like and subscribe to socials. Follow Devin on Twitter. And, of course, you can ask him any questions. He's the man with the plan on our free Discord. So, Devin, appreciate you, brother. We're going to move into GPP. Good luck today. And I know you got a lot of work ahead of you.
No problem.
All right, so we're going to bring in Mike Miz 23, talk a little bit about our GPP tournament segment in regards to his mismatches articles and what that means. Mike, thanks for being patient with us, brother. Like I said, I want to ask you before we move in, do you think that Donald gets the credit he deserves? Do you think that he's a premier talent, maybe number one in the league?
Yes. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Of course he is.
I
What
agree.
kind of question is that?
Yeah, exactly. So there you go, guys.
Danny, you're insane, dude.
Words of wisdom. Danny had to feel reassured today. So we're going to jump in, guys. We got GPP segments. We got our first guy, our first graphic on the board. Mike, lead us through some GPP turn and how I guess our players can differentiate in tournament lineups. And I do want to, I feel like, we talk about this tournaments, mismatches, GPP. We use a lot of these terms. Mike, before you start, give us real quick, when you're giving plays for a new DFS player, and you're talking and you're touting these guys and these things that we're going to talk about here in shortly. What does that mean in regards to what kind of contest they should be playing in their lineups?
So, in my opinion, and more so specifically for the things that I write up or talk about, it's really focused on limited entry contests. So, not your Millie Maker type things, not your your 150 max entry type contests.
Right.
Those you're really at a disadvantage if you're. I mean, it's not to say that you can't win them or can't use the plays, but you're at a disadvantage in terms of what how much you're able to enter if you're not able to max that out, because other folks are entering 150 times and allocating their rosters accordingly to cover as many areas as possible and correlations as possible to help leapfrog them and get a big bulk of their, if not for first place, getting a big bulk of their lineups in the green. So you have a handful of guys that are doing this. So I try to focus on the smaller fields. Honestly, I'm trying to not play in contests with over 5,000 people for the most part. And there's dollar amounts that are allocated to this at all levels. It's not just 50 or 100 or 300 or what have you. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever dollars you're playing. It just gives yourself a better ROI, right? If you want to stick around and play this for the long haul, as I have and we have, you need to be smart with how you're doing this. I mean, there's nothing wrong with chasing the big prize too, but just make sure you're allocating your money appropriately so that you get the most bang for your buck.
Yeah, agree. Just on top of that, obviously, when you're reading this stuff and you have a question, in our free Discord, like I said, you can tag at MikeMiz23, and he's going to be able to give you, I guess, just a good dissertation. I think it's you're at YFC Mike Miz 23 in the Discord, but let them check it out. Let us give you what we feel on there, because a lot of it is, like you said, about differentiating small amounts, not this big huge I need to play these one. We actually had a conversation about that, about people or DFS people, coaches, touts in the industry that want to have these off the wall plays just because they want to be different. And they're not going to hit. And when they don't hit, you'll be like, well, it was GPP. That's the easiest cop out in the industry. So
Yeah.
Mike's going to be giving you this stuff because he believes in these guys. They have conviction, but at the same time, there's a reason for being on that play, as opposed to just that they're not going to be high owned. So anyways, just wanted to preface with that. I'll let you go ahead and lead in. What do you got for us in regards to quarterback?
Yep. And I play these guys too. So it's not like I'm just bullshitting, writing them up either. So first guy is Joey B, Joe Burrow. I don't know if anybody's been watching him. He does have a little bit of a baby face, but I can relate to that. And he's got the most passing attempts in the league. And I mean, if we want our quarterback to score a lot of fantasy points, he's actually got to throw the ball, right? So if he's not running the ball. And as a pocket passer, for the most part, Burrow's, putting himself or helping us get in position to score the most fantasy points. So he's thrown over for 300 yards out of all but 2 games thus far. And he gets a matchup against Tennessee. Tennessee, they faced the most passing attempts in the league. Their defense has. They're allowing the 7th most passing yards in the league. It just why wouldn't you play the highest volume quarterback against a terrible defense? It seems it's really silly to me. I mean, look, they have not like the biggest names at this point in terms of the receiving core or their line or their running back room right now. But this offense is schemed to throw the ball. So I'm going to use the quarterback that's going to throw the most times against one of the worst defenses in the league, that's projected with the high total. And I know there's slight win concerns, but it's a lot less than the other ones. And as we saw last week, Joe Burrow was, and not only last week, but the weeks prior, going to not only the middle of the field, going down the field, to the sides of the field, underneath, running backs. It doesn't matter. So I'm, I think maybe 75% of my lineups have Joe Burrow on.
Yeah, and the only bad game he had was against Baltimore. I mean,
Right.
that's nothing, to snub your nose at. It's like, the guy's been solid. You look at his game logs and just look at what he's done, and he's just been, like you said, a high volume. He has no issue, obviously, running the ball. I like that with quarterbacks, that these young quarterbacks that are willing to take it. It reminds me a little bit, and I know it's a Homer reference, but like when Carson Wentz came into the league, he really was trying to
Yeah.
ball out. Like he has that kind of mentality. Like, I got to do
It's very
this because,
similar, right?
yeah.
He's-
And he's not just sitting back. Like, I'm just going to take it easy. I'm just going to throw. Like, he's going to make a play. And guys like that, they're tough to come by. He might not have these huge TD numbers. I mean, granted, he had 3 this last game, but like you said, it's a lot of volume there. 6,200 on DraftKings is not a big price tag to pay. And you can pair him with some really cheap guys.
Yeah, I mean, it makes too much sense, it seems. But
Yeah.
staying in that same game, right? It's time for the D train. Derrick
Whoa.
Henry.
Whoa.
Okay, so he may be gaining some ownership and some talk and chatter and so forth. But that's the thing. Even if he is chalky, if you're pairing him with certain people and certain lineup combinations, it doesn't matter if he's 30% owned or what have you. As long as
Right.
your lineup collectively is somewhat different and unique, that's all that matters.
Right.
So if you want, Derrick Henry is carrying the ball more than anybody else in the league at this point. Taylor Lewan's out. I totally get that. But the Bengals just traded Carlos Dunlap. They really just have Geno Atkins there in the middle on the defensive line. That's anybody worth noting.
Right.
So they're pretty much basically a middling defense at this point. 28th allowed in yards per carry, 21st DVOA against the run. Let's load up on Derrick Henry here.
Yeah, I love that, man. And he's a direct pivot to, I guess, people looking at Kamara for the PPR upside. Obviously, the reality is that the usage with Derrick Henry is out of this world right now. Like, they'll run in any script, and this feels like that game
Exactly.
right whenever they were about to play the Texans, where it's a bad run defense, and everybody just kind of wanted to look at it like, I don't know, like, it's Derrick Henry. He doesn't care, and people continue not to play him, unless Kamara is out and CMC's out and all these guys. But I love that spot, man. I love the call.
Yep. So,
All right.
staying in the same game again, and this is why I don't care about Derrick Henry being somewhat popular, is we're going to use AJ Green as well. And it seems like he's getting some like punt ownership as well at this point.
Right.
But AJ Green is one of the leaders in air yards at this point, being heavily utilized in terms of targets. Starting to round into form the last couple of games. He had a rough start in the beginning of the year. It seemed like he was just, obviously he's frustrated. He was frustrated early because, he expects greatness. He expects to be one of the top receivers in the league. And when he's not performing that way, just like you or I, we would get frustrated with that scenario as well. So it seems like, Burrow and Green have made somewhat of a connection the last couple weeks. They're throwing the ball more so than they have than anybody else in the league, as we talked about. And at 4.5K plus Burrow plus Henry, that's really not taking up too much salary to let you do a lot of different things with your lineup.
Absolutely.
It's a nice game stack. The total is high. Let's go.
Yeah, I agree. I was looking at it, and I saw, pre-show, I was doing some prep work, and I saw you had him written up. So I was digging in, and I just kept scrolling down. I'm like, where's he at? Like, usually, I don't search for a guy. I look at on the pricing scale, and I saw him at 4.5. If you're getting double-digit targets and you're not a 6K receiver, there's something wrong.
Yeah. So what's it makes no sense. Like,
Yeah.
I'm surprised he's not gaining a lot more traction than he has been. But
Yeah. Just look at it this way. Literally against Indianapolis, week 6, 4 more yards. Without a touchdown, he would have got the bonus. Would have put him well over 20 fantasy points and DK points. Last week, Cleveland, 82 yards, 7 catches on 13 targets. Like, what little has to be different for that to be completely like a blow up game, and then he's all over everybody's radar. You know what I mean? Like you said, this is the opportunity for you to get him at lower ownership, probably. Well, maybe not now that we're talking about him, but we'll see. Like I said, so I love to play, man. What else you got for us?
And then moving on to tight end. Again, tight end sucks this week. It's like it's almost like they want you to pay up to like use Kittle or Waller or something, which I'm not doing. But
Right.
I'm going right back to Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry's had 15 targets over the last 2 weeks. Him and Keenan Allen are the main focal points of that offense in terms of the passing game.
Right.
The running back situation is a little bit in flux. Even with their opportunities, they haven't been doing well. Justin Herbert has actually been lights out. And as you saw last week, frustratingly enough, every other tight end on the Chargers team caught a touchdown except for Hunter Henry, even though he had plenty of looks and all that. But, where there's frustration with DFS players breeds opportunity for the rest of us. So you gotta move on and just go by, what the numbers are telling us here. And they're telling us that Hunter Henry is a target hog. He's a primary look for Herbert, and it's only a matter of time till those touchdowns that were going elsewhere go back to him. And you want to be on that train before it actually happens, and not the following week after it already happened.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, this is your opportunity, guys, to get in early before everybody catches up with you. So, I love the call. I think Hunter Henry, because of his injury woes, because of whenever he came into the league, still having Antonio Gates ahead of him, and then you have Phillip Rivers. There was a lot of things that were changing, and now you have this new look offense, which they look amazing, man. Herbert out there just being a stud, and he loves obviously Henry, and the guy hasn't really got into the end zone much, and he hasn't been that guy for the Chargers that they can be, and I think he's the premier red zone target once they get down there. I think Keenan Allen obviously is there to move the chains, but Henry's the guy to score the touchdowns. Or Mike Williams, I guess. Yep. All right, man.
Mike Williams is their home run hitter.
Right.
He's their, when they get in close, fades and deep balls and all that.
Right.
So for what it's worth.
Deep GPP. I like it. So Mike Williams there, guys. All right. Anything else in regards? I know did you have anything else on that position, or
I
anything
do
else
actually.
that you like?
Green Bay isn't very good against tight ends, and Irv Smith is only 3K. So if you're a person that's looking to jam in, maybe top 3 running backs on the slate, something like that, he's and you don't want to play Bryant at tight end. He's somebody that you could look to. The target counts have gone up the last couple of weeks for him. I understand that it's a big weather issue game, but
Right.
I mean, it's not like he's catching bombs. He's catching between 5 and 10 yards. For the most part. So at 3K, I think that's a decent GPP value to let you get some running backs if that's the route you're looking to go.
Yeah, and because we're on your segment here talking GPP, I mean, I do want to mention like my personal favorite. I love the Mahomes Hill combination today. I don't know if they're going to get ownership because of the pricing on Mahomes, and a Hill for everything I'm looking at is underpriced at only 6.7. He gets a matchup, and we're going to talk more about that with Pierre Desir today, but. I mean, I don't see any way that this guy can't pop off in at least one big play, regardless if it's a blowout or not. How could they not feature their biggest home run hitter, today in a matchup that I guess if you're looking at the slate as a whole with all the weather games, it kind of gives you more of a condensed player pool on guys that you can trust here. So tell me your thoughts on the Chiefs today and with the blowout risk.
I mean, well, yeah, and there definitely is. But first of all, it's the NFL. Anything can happen.
Right.
But secondly, when's the last time? Like, if you just think back to last year, right? Tyreek Hill was pretty much never below 7K. Trending towards like the 7.8 to 8.2 range for the most part, I
Right.
believe,
Right.
just off the top of my head. So, and against probably maybe the worst collectively team in the league or in the last few years, in the Jets. Yeah, absolutely. Nobody's going to be playing him. So, I mean, he has the potential to score 2 touchdowns on 2 targets.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, there's nobody fast enough to keep up with him, and nobody
Right.
can play press coverage on him. And even if they have safeties over the top, it doesn't matter. So yeah, and then one other thing before we get off here, DJ Dallas is somebody to keep your eye on. With all the injuries
Right.
to the Seattle backfield, we're probably not going to know in time for lock. But if you have the ability to make some swaps, or you have some of the later players in your lineup, and maybe you're down or what have you, or you just want to take a shot, DJ Dallas would be your
Yeah.
guy at 4K.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I know we talked a little bit earlier. It's very hard to know what Seattle's going to do in that situation, but he's another guy that they drafted. I don't think that they draft running backs in Seattle anymore just to have them have this huge role. It's kind of like they just have to draft in depth because Carson or somebody's always hurt there. So it's unfortunate, but at the same time, it gives an opportunity to someone who's basically min-priced like a DJ Dallas. And before obviously getting off, 100% agree with like Mike said. That's one of the most popular, I guess, GPP winning formulas is if you're running a quarterback with a secondary receiver, running that back with a running back one or a big piece for the other team. That's something that is going to be a great game script. So if you really like a player and you like his receiver targets, and you see somebody on the other side, you think that game's going to be close, is somebody you should really consider there. And like I said, don't be afraid to play the right plays. I think one of the biggest, actually the most common things I've said when it comes to DFS, in at least the last couple of years, was like, why didn't I just play the Chiefs? Or why didn't I just play Mahomes and Hill? Like, they're in a great spot. You know what I mean? So I think that's just worth noting there. But all right, man, before we get off to the next segment, anything else?
No, nope, I think that's it. I think if you want to get really contrarian, you could use a Ravens Steelers game stack.
Love it.
That's
Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about it. So I love that a lot, man. All right, guys. Hey, that's Mike Miss 23 at YFC Mike Miss 23 in our free Discord. You can see some of our staff chat picks on there. Be sure to check out his Miz Matches article and content. Mike, I appreciate you, brother. Have a great day. Get some rest. We appreciate all the takes on there, and I know you'll be active and available in the chat until lock there.
Yep, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, guys, we're going to transition to the last part of our show here. We're going to talk a little bit about one of our affiliates, Prize Picks. If you're unfamiliar with Prize Picks, we do have a partnership with them right now. Prize Picks is a great way to diversify your DFS portfolio. If you enjoy the wagering part, if you enjoy the DFS part, you've already done all the research. That's the one thing I always pitch to you guys. So at Prize Picks, you can sign up with code YFC and you can do a simple 2, 3, or 4 pick entry. You can either power play it or flex play it for bigger payouts in the end. If you're using code YFC right now, you do get a 100% deposit match and a free 2 pick entry to win $50 on that first deposit. So be sure to sign up at Prize Picks. We do have our affiliates on our yourfilterschoice.com website. So click that. And if you are unfamiliar, we do have plays up for Prize Picks daily in different sports. The great thing about Prize Picks is you don't have to stick to one sport. You can mix match things from different areas. So play some football, play some soccer, play some college, play a little bit of a highlight if that's your thing, man. But yeah, prizepicks.com. Like I said, we're going to talk about our NFL picks today. My man on the screen right there, Sam Darnold. Guys, I get it, man. And I even put this in the article. I was like, please don't cringe when you open this up. I put Tyreek Hill on the cover to clickbait you in. And then, of course, I put Sam Darnold in front of you as an overplay today. But, guys, here's the reality is that everybody believes the Chiefs should roll today. They are very popular with getting in this game script to where the opposing team does have to play from behind, to have to throw the ball. The reality is, no Lev Bell. You could have old man Frank Gore, P. Ryan at running back. Sam Darnold, I do think he's healthy here. If you're looking at the games and the guys that he's actually, the defenses that he's played against, He's had a rough go of it. I don't have the article in front of me, but I know it was the Bills twice. I know he had to play San Fran. I think there might have been a game against New England in there as well. But the Denver game was the softest matchup he had. And he actually had well over 20 prize picks points on there because he had the opportunity to go up against a defense that was going to be able to give him something. So I get it. Sam Darnold, he's in a rough spot, but at only 12.5 right now on prize picks, I do feel like he's an overplay. He can do things with his legs. He can throw the ball from behind. He doesn't have to do much. So if you're one of those people that you're like, I'm kind of iffy on that, and you don't want to touch the over or the under there, I will say, just that I wanted to mention on the stream only, and we tease this in the article, is that I'm really invested in these weather games today. PrizePicks has a very good history of us playing the unders. I personally like Derek Carr. I think he can hit an over against an abysmal Cleveland Browns defense, but I would be okay smashing the Baker Mayfield under. I do think they're going to just be relying on Kareem Hunt. They're going to run, a couple of short passes here and there. I don't think Baker has the arm strength, the accuracy, the ability to be able to put forth a big game today. So I really do. I'm digging that Baker Mayfield under. Derek Carr with the weather, I may not touch it. He's only at 19. It's a great matchup, man. If there was no weather, I would absolutely be on an over for him. So Sam Darnold, he's too cheap. So if you don't want to get in on it, I'm just telling you, it feels good today. I'm playing it. So I want to move on to our next pick today that we do have is Stephon Diggs for the Buffalo Bills. Right now, I have him as an underplay at 15. The reality is this, guys, is if you're playing Bill Belichick and you're playing the New England Patriots, the one thing that he does is he likes to take away your best weapon. You've seen that multiple times. I think Travis Kelce had a dud against them because that's what the Patriots do. They find their Stephon Gilmore and they put him on the best matchup on the opposing team, and they take it away. I mean, how many times has wide receiver ones really torched the Patriots? What always happens is they find the auxiliary plays, the Cole Beasleys or Josh Allen doing it with his legs, but I don't see a route to where Stephon Diggs can really hit an over today outside of getting maybe some touchdowns or just breaking one. But Stephon Gilmore is still a good cover corner. He tends to shadow guys all over the field. He doesn't have to play on one side. Josh Allen in this game, weather is going to be a big factor here. Expect that grinded out. It's going to be an AFC East low-scoring game. I highly doubt that either one of these teams is going to put forth a lot of points today. So I do see Josh Allen looking for some of his secondary targets and his auxiliary guys. But Stephon Diggs as an underplay at 15 seems very solid to me. I want to round it out with one more play. We have mentioned, I think, 4 players already, but I do like Tyreek here. We mentioned him plenty of times on the stream. He's too cheap on DFS. He's too cheap on prize picks. He only is at 17, okay? This is a full point per reception site. Okay, so let's say the guy catches, 5-6 balls. The fact that his ADOT is so deep, he can easily eclipse the 100-yard mark there, and he's always good for at least one touchdown. The Chiefs have the highest implied total on this slate, I think reaching close to 35 points. How many of those are going to come from Tyreek Hill? Patrick Mahomes is going to look his way. He always feeds his guys there, so I really do feel that Tyreek Hill's in a smash spot. He should probably be up around that. He's not the big PPR guy. He doesn't get a ton of reception, so he's not going to get the love that maybe like a DeAndre Hopkins or a Calvin Ridley or Devontae Adams is going to get those 23, 22-point props, but 17 is too low, guys. He's one of the ones I feel the most confident about today. So, like I said, that's our prize picks. This is in the article. There's write-ups. Obviously, ask me questions. Disagree with me. Play the other side of it if you want, but the great thing about prize picks is you can diversify what you're already doing with DFS. You can, sign up and get free money with code YFC, guys. And of course, like I said, we're here to broaden the horizon of what we offer. We're the all-in-one, one-stop shop that you can go for your DFS and wagering needs. Don't forget to check out our DFS wagering articles as well. I'm sure we're going to have some plays out here sometime today. Obviously, check out the write-ups, check out the content. If you're not already subscribed, there is free content available, but the premium subscription is the way to go, guys. This is yourfilterschoice.com. We're starting earlier and ending earlier to be able to give you time to be able to jump in. Check out the website. Check out our socials. Give us the like and subscribes on Facebook, Instagram, and, of course, Twitter. And be sure to check out those YouTube videos. Guys, my name's Adam at YFC Sports V12. Enjoy the daylight savings time. Enjoy this NFL Sunday. And this is YFC Sports signing out, guys. Have a wonderful day.
German whips, fancy cars. They play the game, but they know who the champions are. Every time we pull up, it's like a damn bazaar. They scream our name, try to get us on the camera. Flashing lights, though I ain't the flashy type. I just push a big whips with the fastest pipes. Can't match his price. Model nigga catch for life, but I still never pay the full package price and fuck the law.